Hello, I'm Patty Simpson with Simpson Math. Let's talk about dispersion. So dispersion is just how spread out our data is, or how far away our data is from the mean. And we're going to learn about several different statistics that show that dispersion, that spread of the data. So dispersion, sometimes it's called variability or scatter or spread, is a measure of the variation of data among themselves. It's also the spread of data from an average. And some examples of statistics or parameters that we're going to learn about that show dispersion are the range, the mean absolute deviation, we'll call it the MAD, the variance, the standard deviation, and the interquartile range. So why is dispersion important? Why do we care how spread out the data is? Well, let's look at an example here. Here's my kids' math grades and my kids' history grades. So as a parent, I get their report card, which shows a parameter. It shows their average of their grades. And if we look at the average of the grades, if I take all the 100s and add them with the zeros and then divide by the number of numbers I have to find that mean average, I would get 50. So his average in his class is 50. Let's look at the history grades. If I look at the history grades where we have a lot of 50s in there, and then we have some 45s and some 55s, that if you add those up, in the middle of them would also be 50. So it turns out if you add all these numbers up and divide by however many there are, the average here is also 50. In both cases, my average on my report card that comes home is 50. My kid's not doing so well in his classes. So as a parent, I want to be able to help him. And I see that 50 on the report card and I need to know, how can I help him? Well, knowing a little bit about the dispersion of the grades might help me to figure out how to help him. So for instance, looking at these grades, we might see, I think that kid's just not turning in some of his work because he's got a bunch of zeros in there. But it looks like when he turns it in, he's doing just fine. So the fact that his grades are really spread out might give me a clue as a mom that he either knows it or he doesn't, or he's turning it in or he isn't. So maybe I should just unplug that computer for a while until he gets his stuff turned in. Whereas in history, his grades are really close together. They're all right around 50. So that tells me as a parent, it looks like he's turning in all his assignments. Maybe he's only halfway doing them, or maybe he's not understanding the material in history. And knowing that all his grades are together, they're near 50, might help me to know maybe I need to get him a tutor and get him some help. So knowing about the spread of data can help us to analyze that data better and understand the situation of the data better. So we can see dispersion really well in those frequency displays that we learned about before. So for instance, here's some data and there's some data. You can tell that this data is more spread out. It has wider spread than this data does. So we can really see that dispersion within our displays. So we are going to learn about several of these statistics or parameters over the next few little bit. Math made simple at Simpson Math. Thanks for watching.